One world over, in the different countries, in the different continents, in the different time zones, in the different working environments, and particularly when the world is passing through these difficult times, economy, mindsets, stress levels, anxieties, and couple of depressions, so many problems people are facing because this coronavirus has put everything out of the order and out of shape. But however, our efforts are to bring back everything into perspective in the right direction. And I think the ancient values of India, it helps a lot when you get focused, when you have got right direction, when you have meditation, and when you take the entire ancient values of India, particularly for the human, when we call it Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. That means the whole world is one family. All of us, we are one. It doesn't make a difference physically, geographically, geopolitically. We might be in any arena, anywhere in the world, but basically we all are human species and human beings, and we got to work on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, green morning, green afternoon, and green evening in the different time zones, in the different frameworks. Let me extend a very warm welcome on behalf of International Chamber for Service Industry, which is for the market research, policy advocacy, innovative future strategies, and consultancy, which goes on. And that is for the non-resident Indians, Indian diaspora, approximately 30 million plus people abroad, and corporate houses in India and overseas, and the government interface together. Today is the 308th webinar during this pandemic, having started on 25th of March. We have come a long way. There are different verticals. I'll share with all of you what all we are doing, how we are proceeding. Today, I extend a very warm welcome, the main Sutradhar, the main person who is basically creating this package, this innovation and the networking and bringing everybody on a common platform. Our deep regards and a warm greetings to Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji, the Professor of Marketing at Lamar University, Texas, USA. He's the person who is basically coordinating the entire efforts. And I must endorse and appreciate tirelessly, I'm going to say, how this man, morning, afternoon, evening, and any idea striking his mind for the growth of India, he's always there, just a call away and just a buzz away and just an email away. That is the kind of a combination. So ladies and gentlemen, New Education Policy 2020 of India, and today's deliberation will be dedicated to Indian ancient values in education. We have got a golden triangle. We have got three ladies. Those are joining us this evening. Dr. Lavanya Vemsani, she's the professor, and that is at Ohio. Then Dr. Anjali Kanogia, she's a policy consultant at Texas. And Dr. Mona Rawal, she's the faculty again in California, that is the Foothill College, USA. We extend them a very warm welcome, and as we proceed further, we will give you the details, their complete run of their credentials and details and what all they have been doing. So ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to each one of you, Canada, USA, Latin America, Central Asia, Middle East, ASEAN, Mauritius, Seychelles, South Asia, India, and then people are still awake and they're waiting for this program in South Korea, Taiwan. And I'm proud of, I think the monks, they sleep less. So some of them, they are awake in Sapporo, Hokkaido, Kobe, Kyoto, Fukuoka. I'm so grateful to all of them because they told Dr. Sharma, we are very keen to know in education, in research, in skills, in technology, in entrepreneurship, what exactly is going on and how the things are proceeding. And how are you going to talk about the ancient values? And that too, Indian ancient values. Okay, fine. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to everybody, including African continent and other parts of the world also. और भारत में हमारे सभी भाई बहनों को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार, अभिनंदन, स्वागत, शुभ स्वागत आपका। इस पूरी श्रृंखला में When we talk about this pandemic, when from the March onward, there are two different segments of the warriors. One is doctors, nurses, and paramedical people. They are the great warriors. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, our teachers, our educators, our counselors, our technocrats, our principals, our polytechnic schools, colleges, ITIs, higher education, universities, whatsoever we can talk about in the ecosystem, I think these are also great warriors. They're doing great job. And particularly like Professor Vivek Natarajan, these people are so much committed. And every Sunday in the evening at 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we bring this particular program to you. And the title is Making Education Relevant. This morning, there were deliberations from the Woodbury University in the NRIs program. And right from the Burbank, California, when the Universal Studios gates opened up, the scope of this particular coining also increased. Now, making education relevant, it has become little bit addition has come on to it this morning. Of course, I was thinking that you all should have the backdrop, but this morning, when we got Professor Satinder Dhimanji, all the way from United States, and he was talking to all of us, and it was a great deliberations with him, and he has given the expansion of this because he's the former president of International Chamber for Service Industry. Making education relevant from today would be known as making education and life relevant. He says add life also. Don't talk about living skills, but the life skills. That is something to be given. And it is so befitting and appropriate to today's modulations and moderations and deliberations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Indian perspective, when we talk about culture, social, economic, and personal, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, what I was talking about earlier, the whole world is one family. The new education policy of India, heartiest congratulations to Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and the Honorable Education Minister of India, Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank ji. The new education policy 2020 being given to entire India, and the deliberations are going on at this point of time because there are three stages. One is the policy formulation. Second is policy implementation, and thereafter is monitoring the implementation of the policy. 6% of India's GDP to be injected, and that is to be infused, and that is to be inducted as far as education part of India is concerned. It's a great compliment because the Honorable Prime Minister wants to make India self-reliant. And there are 5 pillars of it: economy, infrastructure, system, demography, and demand. India is thinking, India is growing, India is becoming self-reliant, and we all have to contribute towards that. My brothers and sisters, those who have gone abroad, Indian diaspora, because our chamber is dedicated to Indian diaspora, non-resident Indians, and basically services sector. Education is the part of service industry. And when we talk about it, ladies and gentlemen, economy, infrastructure, system, demography, and demand, the 5 pillars he has given. Making education accessible and relevant for all. That is the most important thing which is being taken into consideration, because during this pandemic, we all have faced a lot of challenges: how to provide seamless connectivity, how to provide the basic equipment to every child, irrespective if they are in city, they are in rural areas, they are in semi-urban, urban, or they are into far-flung areas near the borders in the different directions at various places. Our chamber is trying its level best that the education should not have any gaps, and particularly because with the education now the skills have been added up. So our chamber finishing school from morning till evening, we are giving complimentary services world over. We start early in the morning, and 12 hours we have got a beaming to the whole world, and we try to reach out 500,000 people every day across the world. So ladies and gentlemen, the efforts are the impact of technology on education and innovating learning approaches. Because now the entire focus of education is learning centric, not teaching centric, and how education to be stimulating, fun, rewarding. And that's why the music and the gamification are coming in a very big way as far as. Now, this slide is the most important slide. Those are joining us for the first time today. You may wish to click the slide on your mobile phone for this particular program, because this will give you the canvas. What exactly are we doing for 12 hours every day? Can you believe it that today on a Sunday, this is the 5th program of ours since morning. We have gone to all the continents, we have gone to all the places, and our efforts are to help out the educators as well as the youth. Now, just wish to share with you that Monday to Sunday, there is no holiday by our chamber. And we wish to share with all of you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days, we are for the youth and teachers empowerment. So then Friday evening from Singapore, we have got a live telecast on water management strategies, because the next global tragedy, or I can say the problems or the difficulties or the misunderstanding, that's going to be on water. Water management is very, very important. Every drop of water is important. And then on Saturday evening, we are right in Chicago, because 11th of September, 1893, 127 years back, a gentleman with the saffron turban and just saying one sentence in the whole world, thunder of claps for this man. Sisters and brothers of America, Swami Vivekananda's teachings. And that's basically relevance in today's education and youth empowerment. And then Sunday evening, just before this program, we had the micro, small, and the medium enterprise, the startups, the self-employment, and entrepreneurship. So this is at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time every day, Monday to Sunday. Now, these are some special programs down below. Every Saturday evening, 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, you've got a special program for your health. That's on Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, organic. Sunday morning from Woodbury University, Burbank, California, Los Angeles, we have got a program, The Relevance of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and India's Upanishad in today's education system. And thereafter, we move on to India, ASEAN, and the focus is 8 beautiful states of India, that is called the Northeast part of India with ASEAN. And that is at 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time, India ASEAN series. And then this is the final program that is on Sunday evening, and that is our Indian diaspora, brothers and sisters, non-resident Indians in different countries world over, and how they can empower, how they can bring their expertise, their networking, their innovations, their creativity, their collaboration, whatsoever they can do for India's Prime Minister's dream, that is the new education policy 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, our efforts are that on 31st of December, by the rolling of this year and the closing of this year, a document to be presented to the Honorable Prime Minister of India in person. If the situation improves and Corona is better, we would like to give him a document from our side that these are the recommendations from our chamber, and these are the inputs which you can get from the non-resident Indians from the world over. And finally, on the request of 600 million, approximately the youth, we got a special program lined for all of us. That is at 12:30 Indian Standard Time, Monday to Friday. This program is in Hindi because lots of people from UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and a couple of other places of India and overseas as well. You'll be surprised to know 60% of the living population in Mauritius is originated from Bihar. And that goes across to Seychelles also when you talk about. So ladies and gentlemen, we have got a special program, motivational program for what does today's youth want in Hindi, Monday to Friday, every day, That is 12:30 to 1:30. So this slide is the most important. That's why I devoted little extra time so that you all should know. Now, your youth empowerment, we have got two focused areas in this entire education policy. One is the youth empowerment, and second is more important is teachers empowerment. Because how should we empower our teachers? Because children today, those are born millennials, they have got so much of technology, they've got so much of inputs and creativity. So how to make education relevant for everybody? So these are the findings in the last 6 months. Our chamber has done in 152 countries world over. And that is the new order of the world will be your basic food is the first priority. Your health is the second priority. And the third is education is going to be on the digital mode. World will never, ever get back to what it used to be in January and February. So when we talk about digital education, e-learning, flip learning, blended learning, outside the classroom learning, whatever you want to tell it, earn and learn is the new order. And B2B is no more business to business. It's back to basics. It's a sustainable development of the world order, which we have to take. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the recommendations we have made to Indian corporate and world over. I don't want to spend time on that. Global study destination, that is the dream project of Honorable Prime Minister. From world over, people should come to India instead of children going abroad and so much of leakage of foreign exchange and revenue and everything moving out from India, because within a year, if you carry out the econometric model, how much money gets drained out and moves out of India, that is something which one has to understand and one has to plan and one has to take the idea. So Vishwa Guru Bharat, that is the kind of a thing, the dream project of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, along with the Education Minister. So with the help of the non-resident Indians and Indian diaspora, this particular program we are bringing to you. We believe in whatsoever human mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Let's come together, let's be together. And this particular program, which is a live telecast on the YouTube, come on YouTube, that is Dr. Gulshan Sharma's channel, world over, where from the people are watching. Let's put our hands together. Let's put our energy and synergy together. And today's deliberations are going on to Indian ancient values in education, Bharatiya, Indian values in education, how it is relevant to today's youth and education in India, especially in the context of the new education policy. My deep regards to Dr. Natarajan, because these lines, between the lines he has given, he has sent across to work onto it. So ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajan, Professor of Marketing, Lamar University, Texas, USA. And as this program is available on the YouTube now for all of us to see, so I'm not getting into too much of details. You all can read it. You can see the credentials. You can go through. The gentleman has put a lot of hard work and he has brought and packaged this entire program together from world over for all of us. And me, I along with Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, is working that every Sunday, 7:30 p.m. in the evening, you'll have a program on different themes to empower the vision of Honorable Prime Minister and Education Minister of India, where basically we talk about how the new education policy to be implemented. Now we extend a very hearty welcome to Dr. Mona Rawal, Faculty Philosophy Department, Foothill College, California. She's also the Secretary, American Academy of Indic Studies. We extend her a very warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, everything is listed over here. It will be available on the YouTube also. You can go through. We extend her a very hearty welcome. It's a pleasure to have her with us. We are also being joined this evening by Dr. Lavanya Wemsani. She is the Professor of History at Shawnee State University at Ohio. We extend her a very warm welcome. So all the credentials, all the hard work, whatever she is doing for the American Journal, International Journal, or editorial or review boards, everything you will see it over there and you will enjoy. And this is Dr. Anjali Kanodia. She's the policy consultant and independent scholar at the Houston, Texas. We extend her a very warm welcome. All the three ladies, we extend you a very warm welcome. It's a pleasure to have all of you with us this evening. And from the elder brother, I drop the curtains, and ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming this galaxy and these wonderful people, those are joining us this evening. We extend a very warm welcome to all of them. Thank you very much for joining us. And I request now Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji to take the proceedings further. With these words, very hearty welcome to all of you. Pleasure to have you. I think I always believe in it is the ancient Indian education values and system that at the age of 72, I carry the energy of that 20-year-old boy. And that is possible. That is my lifestyle. That is my living. That is the way I think, I dream, I work, and I'm passionate. Only one dream project I'm living with, how to empower Indian education system in realistic terms. And we get back to that Nalanda, Takshila, Vikramshila, whatsoever is possible, we got to get back over there. With these words, Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajan.
Well, very good evening to all of you in India, and good morning to all of my panelists in the US. I just wanted to set the logistics of the panel. We will probably go with the time zone order. So we can go with Lavanya ji, then Anjali ji, then Mona ji. And so that way, we are in, that's the order. And I think that's where, how the order looks like. So as, Gulshan ji has given you a very detailed exposition of what ICSI does. So the idea of this panel is these series of webinars is to bring people together. And especially my brief is to bring the NRIs together to give ideas for how do we take the new education policy, in the context of the new education policy, the Indian education system to the next level, and how do you make it relevant? How can it be a game changer to transform the lives of 1 billion people? And the advantage most of us have, I don't know, I think, I know Lavanya ji and Ramona ji were educated in India, and so was I, and we've also been educated in the US. Anjali ji has I think, always been educated in the US, but she has been heavily connected with India. So the idea is we've seen both the systems. How can we learn from it? How can we give from each that? And then in the context of this, all of these scholars are all embedded deeply in studying and researching on the Indian ancient values. So how can we embed that within the context of the new education policy? That's the focus of this panel. And so a couple of weeks back was Navratri, and so we do the worship of Shakti. So it's kind of heartening that within 2 weeks we have all Shakti panel. So that is important. We need to showcase the diversity in our education system too. And so there couldn't have been a better way of doing that than this panel. So with that, I will go and let's get this panel started with Lavanya ji. So you have, I think we'll take 10 minutes each, and then we'll come back for question answers. That's kind of the order. So with that, the floor is all yours, Lavanya ji. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, Vivek ji. The national education policy is very important and very forward-looking policy. And I have read it closely, and I have also written about it. And India right now has two issues in front of the country. The first one is educating massive young population. 50% of India's population is supposed to be under 50 years. So which means half of it should be below 25, which is about 250 million or 60 million, or maybe 600, who knows, 600 million young minds. To educate 600 million young minds is very important. And that is one aspect. And the second is, we are at a real inflection point. We are, for the past 70 years, we are continuing the colonial education policy that was put in place, which actually doesn't give any space for Indian traditional education or study of traditional subjects. And oral traditions and arts, of course, don't ask me about that. They have no place in modern education and colonial education system that was put in place. So there is hope. I actually found hope when I read the third section of the National Education Policy, which says that, you know, Article 22.12 of Section 3. Institutes and universities studying all classical languages and literatures with strong efforts to collect, preserve, translate, and study the tens of thousands of manuscripts that have not yet received their due attention. So this gives a hope that somehow the neglected manuscripts, neglected subjects, neglected traditions of India might find their due place in education going forwards. But the policy doesn't give us any clear idea. So I also expressed a little bit concern when I wrote my article earlier. Traditional education and modern education are two pillars for encouraging fruitful discussion, fruitful dialogue. So traditional education, if done in traditional settings, gives out traditional ideas of what it meant and classical ideas and classical thought. And the social sciences, of course, using the critical theory, political, economic, and critical theories of humanities, we can understand in modern way what we can think of it. And this has been done in the West for 400 years. We haven't done that in India. The traditional education has been completely shut out, completely silenced out. And if we bring it directly into the modern education system, into the universities, the traditional voice would be completely lost. So it's important that we also cautiously maintain a traditional way of studying parallel with the modern education system, so that there will be a fruitful dialogue between the past and the present. What we are thinking in the modern world, the present thought, what we received from the past. So a thought process from the past in dialogue with the thought process of the present will help us evolve a very fruitful thought as well as a great intellectual tradition for the future. So I'm hoping this would be the way forward. So with that, I would stop here and I would request my other panelists to give their opinions also. Thank you so much.
I just wish to clarify one point over here, very important. Now the art, commerce, and science barriers have been removed. The arts people can take science subjects, science people can take music, commerce people can take fashion designing. All that has been combined together. So separate department, compartment, all that has been removed. And even taking an example of the IITs, which were basically for engineering and management, they will have now the art subject also, commerce subject also, and something very interesting you will find, the three English words. Of course, the Macaulay basically disturbed the whole ecosystem of education of India when the Britishers had come over here, and the British, I don't want to get into the historical perspective, taking more time, but something very important to tell you over here, that three words which we used in English language, curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular. These are the three words being used in English language. Now, arts, sports, music, dances, going out, outdoor activities, cultural activities, all they are going to be now integral part of Indian education system. And they will be considered as subject and the marks would be given for that. I would just like to submit over here, because that is the new dimension which has been brought into the new education policy. I thought I should just share with you. Dr. Anjali.
Yes, so many things to say, and I don't want to start out with concerns, but my big concern there is who will be teaching these arts and culture. That is the nitty-gritty of the problem. I mean, forgive me, I'm a political scientist, and I know implementation is where the rubber hits the road. But is this going to be offered by Indics or someone outside from India who sees art as one thing or yoga as one thing according to their lens? Because that is exactly what we see going on in US universities. And in short, that does not build a healthy citizenry. So who will be doing this? What type of teachers will be offering this becomes critical. We don't want to open up the floodgates to people who actually want to bring harm instead of doing any good for our students. So that is my comment there.
Very, very important concern. Very, very important concern, because teachers' empowerment is one of the important area which our chamber is focusing on. And then we are talking about the metrics, the yardsticks, the barometer. Who would be training? And then who would be monitoring? And who would be seeing that the people, those are getting trained, are they getting trained for the right proposition and right permutation, combination, and inputs? Wonderful input. We take it forward. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So a quick couple of things, and I won't take up too much time, but learning in the native language is the best thing that I see in this particular revised policy, because we know that learning English versus learning in English are two different things. And empowering the regional aspects, given India is a plural nation, I think is the best thing to come out of this particular policy. Vocational training is another great aspect, especially because we know, and I mean, not to be politically incorrect, but we know that not everyone is made for a 4-year college degree. They need skill-based training. So this is, again, one of the strong points to come out of this particular policy document. Of course, then highlighting culture, language, regional aspects, right? Emphasizing regional stories, things like that is super important. And so is, of course, the inculcation of arts, theater, and yoga, right? Starting yoga from an early age, not just learning yoga, but learning about it is also empowering, I think. I teach yoga to people of various ages, and the kids just soak it up. It just seems so natural to them versus like when they do this when they're older. So kind of putting this in early on before they get socialized by the age 13 and rejected because it might be uncool is essential. So kind of early on primary education, making children take parts in Ramayana and Mahabharata enactments, right? Learning about different personalities that way. So it's not just learning about tradition, but learning about life skills also is important, I think. So that is the angle that the vocational training and culture and arts brings. The other thing quickly I want to talk about is the emphasis on standardization related to yoga and Ayurveda. These aspects, I think, are the last battlefront that India is facing in terms of people just wanting to co-opt and take yoga and Ayurveda for disconnecting them from the roots, which is India. So I think this is where the world can really see India as a leader if we do come up with some kind of standardization of what yoga is. And I know Ayush is working hard, as Vyasa, all these wonderful people are working really hard towards it. But sometimes I think we don't, sitting far away, don't understand that the problem is bigger than we perceive. So I think this is where the world can really see India emerge as a leader. The last couple of things is, yes, implementation is key. Who will regulate? Who will oversee this? You know, this should just not get, again, eaten up by the bureaucratic largesse. Red tape is something that all big democracies are famous for. And of course, institutions are important, but we want to make sure that this new policy doesn't get drowned out as just yet another thing in bureaucracy. And I will stop there and I will save other comments for later. Thank you. Vivek, do you?
Go ahead. I think we should now go to Monaji.
You have to unmute your mic.
Hello, namaste everyone. Good morning to all our panelists here and good evening to people in India. And I'm so very proud to come to this kind of a podium to speak because I get to speak about India, which I am extremely passionate about. And plus, I look at India from a different lens because now I am outside India and I'm looking at the whole picture very differently with different experiences that I've now gathered being outside India. And now I can easily compare how education in India and education outside works because I've worked in both the systems. I taught in India for 7 years and I'm teaching in the US since 8 years. So it's like a balance, 7 years of teaching both sides. It gives me a very different lens of how to comparatively give an overview of how things could be much more efficiently carried out in certain sense. Now, I belong to a philosophy background, so my inputs will be very much from the philosophical lens. I'm thinking that this entire policy is very progressive. It has been something which, when I came to America, I thought, I've never even seen something like this in India. I haven't experienced something like a student in science is taking my class in philosophy. I mean, that would have never ever happened in India in my times. But now when I look at this new policy, it's extremely progressive, very modern in its thinking. There are some things which I really love in this policy. It's emphasized on conceptual understanding. We did never do that. When we were in India, the best way of learning conceptual things was when we looked into a laboratory, when we were in a 0 to 10 school. After we came out of the laboratory, there's nothing like doing simple lab experiments in chemistry or biology or physics. That's the only conceptual thing I've ever seen when I was a kid learning in India. And I wish there was so much emphasis on how things work rather than this is how things work and let's just do it like that. So that how question that so many students have that much strong thirst for how did this happen, but we never had answers for that. So finding your own answers, giving people an opportunity to explore by themselves is something which is so strong. And I feel that the new policy is going to work towards that. How will it work again is a question, but at least they've taken that first step towards finding importance for conceptual thinking. I think the second very important thing is critical thinking. Since I'm into philosophy and philosophy is the base in every single science. Every single science is based in critical thinking, logic, rational thinking, analytical skills. All of this is what philosophy is. And I'm thinking that if every single science, every single courses in social science, in humanities, in whatever science you're teaching, if that is based in critical thinking, students will have a very different approach to how they are learning. So for me, if you want to talk about connecting Indian roots to modern education, then critical thinking is something which is extremely important for our students to learn, whether they're learning dance, whether they're learning marketing, whether they're learning sociology, economics, or they're learning robotics, they're learning how to do coding. Everything needs critical thinking. So if we focus on that aspect, that no matter what you're learning, it's so important to learn rationally, to analyze things. Otherwise, it's just like you're doing rote learning. You have to make people think rationally. You have to make people think of the outcomes of what they are learning. Where are they going to apply that? Where is the wisdom coming from? Gaining knowledge should not be just the goal of education. Implementing knowledge, being more wise, okay, that is something. Applying that knowledge somewhere in order to be more successful in life is something which I think is missing over there. We are teaching students what is philosophy. But what will you do with philosophy in life? That's not what we are teaching in India to our students. So it's very important to give that aspect to our students. Give them a foresight into things, give them an insight into things, that how should you move ahead with this piece of information that we are giving you. That is something which is missing according to me, because I've learned in India, I've taught in India, I'm teaching over here. Over here, we have that system where we teach them, what do you do with everything that you have over here, right? So that is one aspect that I feel is missing. And how do we teach critical thinking with the ancient Indian roots? We have to start with, of course, we cannot teach these concepts very easily to our younger kids, but when it comes to college education, I think our very ancient philosophical systems are based in critical thinking, and the whole world has neglected it for thousands of years, I guess. But if you look at the Nyaya and the Vaisheshika system, these are very strongly soaked in logic. Every single word over there talks about critical thinking. It talks about metaphysics. It talks about epistemology. It talks about logic. It talks about ethics. It's rooted so deeply into these strong systems, you know. So I think if we try to, in a different way though, purely bringing Nyaya Vaisheshika system into our, you know, mainstream education will throw students off. So we want to make it much more simpler, but I think that is the best way of even humanizing the STEM. In India, there's so much importance given to STEM these days. Everybody wants to be an engineer and a coder and get into computer science and get into, you know, and we're giving very less importance to humanities. And now I'm very happy that this education policy is is like a melting pot, bringing everything together, which is very good. But I think it is very important to humanize the STEM system in India. So how would we humanize the STEMs? By bringing a lot of soft skills into our education, like how to communicate effectively. You're a very good doctor, but you don't know even how to communicate or how to, you know, pacify the patient who is sitting in front of you. You talk with him like he's just a number in front of you. He's just a, you know, customer in front of you. How do we teach those soft skills to our doctors? How do we teach soft skills to our engineers? They have to face an interview in their life. How are they going to even face an interview if they don't have those skills to speak? Communication is such an important aspect of education, which we're not teaching our engineers how to communicate. We're not teaching our engineers how to deal with emotions. And there are these people who are even in their student life and they're committing suicides, right? Because we don't give them education in soft skills. So bringing that awareness about teaching soft skills is also so important, right? So these all things should be embedded in our modern education policy as well, which I see they're doing so much. At least it is outlined very well. I'm so proud that something like this is happening in India after a very, very long time. Colonial education has totally thrown these values away. We are bringing value to our education. That's what I'm so proud of. And I hope, and I'm very, very, you know, I really wish that these things get implemented, teaching life skills, being multidisciplinary, being multilingual. We should not be ashamed that we had education in a different language. Nowadays, when I go to India, whenever I'm traveling, even in my village, people take pride in saying, oh, my child studies in English medium. I think, yes, it is good to study English because that's what makes us global citizens. But first be a local citizen, then a global citizen. Think in your own terms is what I'm thinking. So if you're good in your local thinking, you will become a global citizen. You don't need a language to become a global citizen. You need the insight and the thought to become a global citizen. That's what I feel. So I'm very happy with the changes, but at the same time, I'm thinking, don't lose what you have. Take it with you and develop it. Show to the world that what you have is what empowers you. So I think in that way, this education system will go far if we give the teachers the insight of how to take it. It's like we need our Krishna to take the chariot into the Mahabharata. It is a big war because, you know, We have so much in front of us to fight for, but we don't know which direction to go. एक सारथी की जरूरत है, और वो सारथी कहाँ से आएगा पता नहीं. अंजलि जी ने बहुत अच्छी तरह बोला कि सारथी की जरूरत है, और ये सारथी हम सब बनने को तैयार है. मैं, अंजलि जी, लावण्या जी, we are ready to help in whatever way we want to, or people want to get from us any help. We'll be very happy to help. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Tanji, it's over to you.
Would you like to add anything over here?
No, I think, the main thing, again, I think this is a theme that resonates, will resonate across future panels too, is that you will find that people, if are willing to come and help in this mission, they see this as a gyan yagya and they're willing to do their bit. And these panelists are no different from what we saw last week too. Everybody's saying, how can we help? So I think that is the success of this policy, is it's lighting a lot of light bulbs in people's brains, and they can see how can we make the connection and how can we create a narrative to help India. I think that's a very positive message that comes across. Of course, at the same time, we should always be cautious. Cautious optimism is always good. And that's what we get trained, do it slowly. Charat ban jai. You have to do it slowly but steadily. And I think that is one thing academia trains you, is this deliberation that, so let's I would take it to Gulshan ji. How can we take this into more details? Okay. How can we leverage the talents that we are getting?
Thank you, Professor Natarajan. Let's give about 2 to 3 minutes to each one of them, and then we wind up the deliberations. Maybe about 3 to 4 minutes they can take, 5 minutes they can take, because there are lots of questions which are emerging, but then that we will assimilate, no problems. Let's give about 3 minutes each to all of them. And if it further proceeds, we go for third round. Otherwise, we finish with the second round. Let's presume it that we finish with the second round. And let's start with Dr. Lavanya ji. Let's have her first, whatever she wishes to say over here. We can have her, and then we can further proceed, please.
Thank you. Since I work in religious studies and history major and religious studies major, I would like to see a new history written about India with collaboration, and I'll be willing to cooperate in any way I can. And I have worked in early history of India and origin of Indian culture, and also the early Indian history is confused. It needs beyond repair. We can't repair it anymore. We have to find the actual history. The Aryan theory needs to be re-examined and questioned at the basis of Aryan theory. And all of Anjali ji, Mona ji, we talked about it previously. The Aryan, the word itself is a myth, and the story of its coming is a myth, and making it into a race is a myth. And research in archaeology, genetics, as well as literature has established that nothing like that ever existed in India. There was no race, no invasion, no evidence in any field. So I have written about this. You are all aware anyway. So that's where my work is. So I would be willing to cooperate, and also that's where I would request the higher education to focus. To bring out this new history of India, and also religious studies. Religious studies field is lacking in India. There are hundreds of biblical colleges across United States, across the West, and there are no Mahabharata colleges, or there are no traditional Hindu studies. Of course, where the policy says it's going to have it examined in the universities, but examining in the universities is good, important. But at the same time, we also need to have a traditional education and traditional theological education, traditional schools that examine it in a traditional context. So from historical point of view, there is a lot of work ahead of us for history. For religious studies, of course, even more work. We have to have these traditional education policy and traditional schools and colleges, Mahabharata and all these. And then, of course, we also have to incorporate Hindu studies, Mahabharata studies, all these into the modern universities that we already have. So a lot of work ahead in both fields that I work. So I'm seeing a lot of work there. So I'll start with this. Thank you.
I think maybe fault with me that I did not phrase or I did not frame the question properly. So it would require for one more round. Let me go to both the ladies. I'll come back to you with the final round for 1 minute. My focus is on two things. Number one, what should be done for teachers' empowerment? I'm not interested about students' empowerment at this point of time at all. My first focus is teachers' empowerment, because these millennials, those are born with the gadgets and the kind of information which is already available, whether it is a distorted information, whether it is a relevant information, whether it's a social media information, whatever it is there, I think subject knowledge would not be required in content form that much. But the most important challenge is how to filter out the right information in the right packaging at the right time. And then at the same time, how do I focus and strategically channelize my youth? Because there's a beautiful movie which has come recently, that is The Social Dilemma. That documentary everybody should see. If we have seen, it's wonderful. If we have not seen it, I would strongly recommend anybody who is in education, we must see this movie, The Social Dilemma. And this is a wonderful movie. And this is 1 hour, 26 minutes, but it's an eye-opening what will happen in future. And secondly, those are in education. You must watch one YouTube video, Nightmare to Universities. Nightmare to Universities. That is a US video, and this is worth seeing. It's 11 minutes, but it's an eye-opening. After 11 minutes, you come to know what education are we giving, what education should be given, what exactly the corporate world is thinking, where exactly the university and colleges are lacking world over, and what exactly is happening in the education system. So thereby, at least this technology has brought all of us somewhere at par. Those have got right proposition of the technology. Today, nobody can say that I'm in a village or I'm in a city. If you can get a seamless connectivity, then I have an access to Anthony Robbins also. I have got to Deepak Chopra also. I've got to Robin Sharma also. I've got to Brian Tracy also. I've got to Les Brown also. I've got to Jim Rohn also. I can read anything at any point of time. There is no problem at all. Today, that thing has come. Now the question is, I think, which Dr. Anjali made a mention. So, Lavanya, I'll come to you for a minute once again in the final round, and I will repackage everything. And I think both ladies got little time to think over what exactly to be conveyed to Dr. Sharma. Then it may become a final round for them. My concern is how to empower my teachers. And at the same time, if I tell my child, now the time has gone, work hard. Now work smart. When you say work smart, no, what exactly is smart work? He says, okay, fine. You need a particular thing. It will be delivered to you right over here by Arizona or by Amazon or whatever is there. That all will be given to you. You need a particular item. It will be given to you. But why are you after my blood that I should sweat around, I should move around, I should go around and everything? So physical health, mental health, psychological health, and virtual health, that is also very important. Children, this particular movie is amazing, amazing. And there are no actors. This movie is with the real CEOs and the marketing strategists of particular the social media, software companies. It's a mind-blowing. So Dr. Anjali, let's hear you. What do you have a take on that, ma'am?
So the question is how to empower teachers? Is that?
Yes, that's
yes.
my, and at the same time, how to get children focused also, because attention span is so short that if within 5-6 seconds I find you're not worth, he says, oh, this teacher, no, I'm not interested. This subject, no, I'm not interested. So attention span has also gone down. Focusing also, concentration, hard work has totally gone. And I do not know, it's quite debatable. I'll take it subsequently sometime, whether how hard work is required or smart work is required. I do not know. But teacher empowerment, how it should be done. And then what India should project basically, because my concern is at this point of time, in India, the students, those are coming from foreign countries. They're coming from, I do not want to name the destinations or the places and all that. They're coming from a places, I would say, where certainly they are not getting, I would say, better education. That's why they're coming to India. But our aim should be to get other students also from different places. So India in real sense become a global destination. Something must have happened in Nalanda, something must have happened in Takshila, something must have happened in Vikramshila, that people came and 10,000 students and 2,000 teachers and all subjects being taught over there. Something miraculous must have happened at that point of time. You talk about surgery, you talk about medicines, you talk about physics, you talk about chemistry, you talk about engineering, you talk about art, you talk about craft, and when Macaulay made first statement in British Parliament, he told, ladies and gentlemen of British Parliament, I wish to tell you that, first of all, I'm quite surprised. Nobody is unemployed in India. And secondly, nobody is begging on the streets. Nobody is asking for employment. Everybody, whether in a village or a block level or rural area or wherever they all are engaged in certain works. So there I have got certain concerns. So how would you like to take it? And I think what Dr. Mona mentioned, that and you also mentioned very, very rightly, that how are you going to empower your educators who are going to be? So kindly just give your little inputs on that.
Yeah, and again, this is a big question, and I don't know if I necessarily have the answers or even thoughts regarding this, but like you said, education will not be the same after this pandemic. So this also opens up a lot of opportunities to where someone sitting in Baroda, Gujarat can take a class from someone teaching in Delhi or someone teaching in Arizona. So this opens up a world of possibilities. So that is something to keep in mind. So education will never be the same, and we know that. In terms of empowering the teachers, this is critical because now I'm gonna wear my yoga hat. Teachers who are caregivers are one of the most stressed population. How do you empower this population to where they take care of themselves so that they can actually teach and take care of the students? I mean, the highest incidences of, alcohol abuse, sleep issues, whatnot, are seen in teachers because they're usually lacking the resources to do their jobs. We see that a lot of teachers just spend their own money on supplies and other things. So they are kind of the moms in the classroom in a way, right? I mean, they do much more than provide teaching. So how do you empower this particular population? That is a large, large question. And how do we provide them with the training that is necessary to build life skills in the students? Again, I have more questions than answers regarding this, but if someone else wants to kind of chime in and try to contribute, I don't have any particular answers regarding this.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Mona. First of all, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, he is deeply keen about critical thinking. Critical thinking he is very keen about. Logical thinking, analytical thinking, what all you told. And there was something very important you mentioned, we got to measure what is the outcome of learning. That is also something very important. And knowledge is going to be available in plenty. So how knowledge is going to be implemented and what exactly, I think the main focus of this particular policy is not on teaching. It is on learning outcome. What exactly will be the outcome? That is more important. And I think, yeah, Dr. Anjali mentioned earlier regarding vocationals. And when she was talking about 97% people in South Korea, then a large chunk of the population in Germany, and a couple of other countries when I talk about. So vocational skills, competencies, that has been made now integral part of the new education policy. A lot of emphasis are going to be given, and we should be happy about it that the 6th standard student would be taken for 10 days to the corporate house, and that will be included, no bag classes. That means nothing to be brought that particular day. You just go to the corporate house, visit. It's like a field visit. You go over there, see the company and come from there. So vocational skills and competencies, what Dr. Anjali's concern was there, I think that has been rightly put into the perspective. So what do you suggest now? How do we empower our teachers? Because teacher empowerment is very important. That is one of the main concern what we have got. And some other takeaways also. Is it really possible? That will be, I think, 1 minute more I will give to Dr. Lavanya and Dr. Anjali after this round once again. Children, they are not interested. I don't know. I'm sorry to say that. I won't be putting it in a right perspective because I'm also a teacher and I teach abroad. I've taught for years together. I understand what all is being taught, which way it is being taught, what is to be taught in India. So I have a comparative analysis of all shores, not only of United States or Canada, even Australia and New Zealand. So I have got a complete perspective when I'm talking to you. अपने होशो हवाश में मैं जब बात कर रहा हूं तो so there I wish to talk कि यूथ को हम बेसिकली कैसे चैनलाइज करेंगे. तो अब 2 इश्यूज हैं. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट वी आर टेकिंग इज टीचर्स एम्पावरमेंट एंड सेकेंडली एजुकेशन. यूथ कहता है कि इट शुड बी फन, इट शुड बी स्टिमुलेटिंग, इट शुड बी गेमिफिकेशन, इट शुड बी म्यूजिक ओरिएंटेड, it should not be that serious. So that is also the concern. So first is teacher empowerment and second is how education to be. और फिर हम ancient values की बातचीत कर रहे हैं. We are talking about those values which were given in Nalanda's time. वो कह रहा है कि आप मेरे से मोबाइल कैसे छुड़वा सकते हैं. Don't talk to me about all those things. So thereby, anyway, few answers I'll share with you later. But what are your take, ma'am, on that?
I'm not involved with children's education, so I cannot say much about children's education.
I'll come back to you, ma'am. Let me finish with Dr. Mona for this round, then I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for again giving me an opportunity to speak. As a professor, I always love to speak and I get paid to speak, so it's a good profession that you like to speak and you get paid for it. Okay, so one thing that I would like to empower our teachers is, now the question is, why am I teaching? Earlier the question was, what am I teaching? So now the teachers have to totally re-evaluate their profession. They don't have to think about what am I teaching that importantly, because everything is available everywhere. Now, why am I teaching? What is the purpose of me sitting in this class when everything is available everywhere? My students can just watch a YouTube video and learn how to code. Why am I teaching this student how to code? My student can just sit in a class and learn Karl Marx's theory. Why am I teaching Karl Marx theory over here? So now my question has to change. I have to evaluate my own self as a teacher, that my purpose in this classroom has totally shifted. My purpose of being here is not now as much as a person who's sharing information. I'm much more of a person who is like a person who's giving insight into that teaching. It's very easy to see what Karl Marx taught, but reading between the lines. What will I do when I learn about Karl Marx? Where will I take this theory? How will I make my student progress with this theory? Where can he apply this theory? And I will teach my student what to do with this theory now, instead of what Karl Marx's theory was. I'm going to spend only maybe 10 minutes talking about Karl Marx's theory. I may spend 2 weeks talking about what will we do with this theory. So I'm thinking now the question for a teacher has to change. Why am I teaching this? Everyone is an inventor today. Everyone can invent at least one app these days, all the younger millennials. But how many of us are going to become Newton these days? How many of us will make it to that level that even our theory counts? So everyone has such basic information from the internet, the mass media, everywhere. But where is that deep thinking? So I would say that we all, as teachers, not only in India, all over the world, everybody is facing the same problem. In my classroom, I have to punish students who are using a cell phone and tell them, if you don't keep the cell phone, you get out of the class. Or if you keep that cell phone down, I'll take it from you. So we all are facing that problem. It's not even a problem of this particular country. We all need to think why we are in this classroom. So I think if a teacher starts thinking on that lines, what is her role now, rather than what it was earlier, it will change how classrooms work. So that's just my input. And I'm very proud of this new policy that's keeping, India progressive.
Mona ma'am, can we have a quick, some yes, no's and all that quickly? Number one, do you think everybody has to go to university?
No.
Okay, fine. Good. Next question. Let's get on to that. Do you feel that skill is more important than to gain knowledge?
I think wisdom is more important than knowledge.
Okay, wisdom is more important. Okay. So,
I mean, me coming from a philosophical background, I may be very, very biased in what I'm saying because I come from philosophy.
Okay, Anjali ma'am, let me bring you over here. With Mona ma'am, let's go philosophical and logical and both the things together. Do you think skill is more important than just getting a knowledge or wisdom?
I do. I mean, skill is something like Maslow's hierarchy. Unless your food, shelter, water, whatnot is met, you are not going to be doing anything else. So bread and butter comes first. Even in yoga, it's like you can't sit and meditate if you're constantly thinking about being hungry, right? So unless your basic needs are met, then you can have the luxury. Sorry, Monaji, that is what I think. So I have a slightly different take on that. So I think skills are more important.
Yeah, Lavanya ma'am. Can you hear me, Lavanya ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Most of the stories which children in India also nowadays are reading and they are going through. Okay. Let's take it when they talk about Bill Gates, when they come to know about Facebook guy, when they come to know about others and all that. And all the success stories are coming. They are dropouts. They have not gone to university. They have not gone to college. They have not gone to other places. All those things are when they are painted right before the students. The question arises over there. And I don't want to tell you about a couple of other things because the young population of India, the most popular game in India is cricket. And when I'm talking about you take the qualification of all the cricketers. Now, what is coming is whether I take a Eastern philosophy or I take a Western philosophy. Now, somewhere, I think at the age of 72 today, when I realize there are so many things taught to me which never got any relevance in my whole life. Never, ever. I have not used them, not even once. And I'm coming to the finale of my life and my story. So sometimes I wonder why I was taught. Why did I learn that? It has got no application. It has got no utility. It has not helped me any way. So I'm going to say, how do you feel? How do we empower our teachers? That is something very important. At the same time, how do we keep our children focused? And number three, the logic which can be applied in one civilization, one country, where the population is 5 million or 10 million or 20 million or 30 million, cannot be applied to India, where 1.38 billion. So there the strategy has to be altogether different. I got to focus more on skills. I got to more focus on their internship. I got to focus more on their competencies. I got to get them the job as soon as possible, and particularly after this pandemic. Now, this pandemic is a blessing and disguise both. First of all, most important is the education has got exposed. Education has got totally exposed. When I talk to principals and all that, they say, now we are not principals. I said, what are you talking about? You're the principals. They said, no, we are not the principals. No, parents are the principals. Our teachers are teaching. They are observing. How are they teaching? So what I'm telling is, what would have come in India in next 10 years, it has come in 6 months because of this pandemic. Yes. It has become totally transparent. And then when Dr. Anjali or Dr. Mona or Dr. Lavanya, when you are sitting over there and you're talking with this technology right over here through Dr. Vivek Natarajan, all of us together, and when we are sharing information with each other, I personally feel today where there is a need for someone, because there are two kinds of students. One, those students, those are just interested to get a green card and they're going abroad. And second, serious students, those are really going for higher studies and they're interested to acquire knowledge. But do I require knowledge? Do I really require knowledge? I got to support my family. 22 million children, girl child, they are going to drop out as per UNESCO statistics immediately now after this pandemic. Children are getting married. They are getting into a family way. And all that pandemic has brought so much of, because 1.86 billion children are away. So there's so much happening. I just wish to understand, I'm going to say my concern would be Dr. Natarajan, and then we wind up with that round. Something coming from your side, or you want to be the last and giving first an opportunity to all of them? Choice is yours. I'd
like to go in and make a summary.
Very kind of you. Very kind of you. My concerns are two. How do I empower my teachers? Does everybody has to go to college or university? And my immediate concern is so many children have to support their families also after this pandemic. My problems are not the same which others have got. But the final question is today, why we are meeting is implementation of the new education policy 2020. And where my concern is my teachers' empowerment. How do I go by? What do I do? And what Dr. Anjali immediately put the nail, not in my head, but my body. That was, who are going to empower these teachers? And who is going to monitor? What have they picked up? What have they learned? And what are they teaching? And just now, two questions which you have given me, Dr. Mona, like my younger sister, you have put the climax to everything. You told, what am I teaching? And the second, the climax of the whole story is, why I am teaching? Oh my God, so much of concern and so much of reality, ground reality. What am I teaching? And why I am teaching? Deep thinking. Oh. It has taken me to a new trajectory now altogether. Dr. Lavanya, final round, 1 minute to you, because all the three ladies are so intelligent that you have put me into a very deep spot and fix, you know. Yes, Dr. Lavanya. Concluding round, 1 minute.
New training is important, but I don't know where it would begin or how it would come. So I would stop there. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Lavanya. You're so kind. You took hardly any time. Dr. Anjali.
Yeah, quick thing on children and having their minds focused. We know from, this is a panel on ancient Indian values, right? And how to kind of bring that to the fore. We know that yoga and mantra chanting and things like that, wonderful things like that, calms the mind. So if we actually get through in this policy to kind of have this at the beginning of the school day, we know that 21 rounds of Om chanting or Gayatri Mantra chanting helps not just normal students, quote unquote, I put that in quotes, but people who have autism, people who have speech impediment issues, right? So we know that we have the answers. But of course, things need to be published in a journal for us to read and then try to implement. We have the answers. The answers are there, but what are we going to do about it in terms of empowering teachers and students to use this to up retention, academic performance, right? Improve sleep, all these wonderful things. We have the answers. What are we going to do about it is the question.
Okay, Dr. Mona.
Yeah, I think we have access to everything these days, access of everything and access to everything, but direction to nothing. So what we are lacking now is direction. Everybody has everything these days. I mean, I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about access to information, access to different versions of education and different platforms and different podiums of education. There are many, many ways to learn these days. You just don't go to a teacher and learn. You can go online, you can go to your neighbor, you can go wherever and you can learn. So access to education has become much more diverse, and there are too many channels to gain education these days. We don't depend on a human teacher now for education. And maybe in next 15, 20 years, robots are going to even take up that role of a teacher. Who knows? So there's an access to, the way we can learn. And everybody has access to all of these ways. Even in my village in Gujarat, there is very good Wi-Fi connection. And even the person selling vegetables, when he doesn't have a customer, is going online and looking at YouTube videos. Yeah. So everybody has access to everything. And there's an access of everything right over there. But there's no direction. What are you going to do watching those 10,000 hours of YouTube videos? Sorry, this is being live telecasted on YouTube and I'm talking about it. But what are you going to do with everything that you have? I can at the fingertip know the weather of the whole world, but what am I going to do with the information of weather of the whole world? So now direction is the only way to change the game. Everybody has everything, but people don't know what to do with it. I think in 1 minute, I want to just summarize, give people a direction.
Could you be kind enough just to amplify this? Could you be kind? No, the point is so valid. Access to education is not a difficulty, but there is no direction. When you say direction, now, do you have any solution, suggestion, any input from your side before I go to Professor Natarajan?
The only way is to change the thinking of the students who are going to be the future carriers of technology. I think change their thinking. It's not important to live in access. It's not important to know everything about everything. Right? It doesn't make you an intelligent and a smart person in society just because you know everything of everything and you are the master of all trades. What makes you an important person is how sensible are you living your life with that information? How sensibly are you taking that information in your life and what do you do with it? So I think if we make our students think, not only just mindlessly use what is available, but do some maybe some mindfulness classes are important over here on reflecting. Why do I need all of these things, right? So, and of course, in India, there are so many huge spiritual teachers who know how to, throw that to our, regular population as to think, why am I doing this? Why am I spending 10 hours of my life browsing WhatsApp and Facebook and looking at Netflix series and all? What is it going to do to my life? Is it changing my life, or I'm just trying to fill the gaps of time of my life, right?
You have used one word, and that's what I was looking forward from all the three ladies.
Spiritual.
Now, my final question, I think because it has opened the trigger for me, and that you have given a ignition to my plug. And that's what I'm thinking, what to do. What India should package to become a global destination for education? What India should package to become a global destination for education? Because in the new education policy, I was discussing with Professor Natarajan the other day, 100 foreign universities are now allowed to open their campuses in India. Foreign professors coming and teaching in India. Of course, this pandemic, when this policy was made, that time this pandemic was not there. When it was thought, it was not there. What was to come in next 8 to 10 years in digital way, it has come in 6 months. So already the floodgates are opened. I have an access to all of you, and Professor Natarajan is packaging, and every week we have got the brainstorming with everybody. So if I have to package India as a destination, if I have to package India as a global destination for education, what is one word, one sentence, or small input from your side? Quickly we can have, and then I go to Professor Natarajan. Dr. Lavanya, anything from your side? Your mic is mute, ma'am. Your mic is mute. Your mic, ma'am. Ha.
So if India has to offer something, it has to focus on its strengths. India's strengths are its languages and its culture. So if anybody is studying, the technology and business and, social sciences in the modern sense, of course, the West has it. So India should focus on what India does best, what India had done best in the past. So the languages and culture and Ayush and, Ayurveda, yoga, all the traditional strengths of India should be emphasized in the education. And that's what should be the goal.
Thank you. Dr. Anjali?
One sentence: holistic, lifelong learning and skills.
Holistic, lifelong learning and skills. Okay. Dr. Mona, ma'am?
I think the best package that India can offer is what India is all about. We're all about what we have been from past 5,000 years. And if we if that is what, because see, you go to America, you can get everything about modernity and technology and everything. You go to Europe and you get all of that. You go to Africa, you get all of that. Why should I go to India? Because India has something to offer that no American, no European university is going to offer. What is it? It's India itself. The very essence of being India is Patanjali, Panini, all of these, Shankaracharya, Vallabhacharya, all of these are like the pillars of our education when it comes to traditional education. If they get something which none of the countries on this earth are giving, they will surely come there. And let me tell you, me being in America and teaching in an American college, this is a USP that is keeping me alive over here. It's earning me bread and butter because I know something that my colleagues in America cannot teach. I'm teaching the world religions of the East over here, which others cannot teach with personal experience. And I'm earning my bread and butter because I kept what I have from India. And I'm thinking that is a USP that I have. They cannot replace me because other professors are not teaching it. They cannot teach it that way, the way I am teaching it. So if I can take that out of India and still make my bread and butter with it, you are in India. You can easily, talk about it in your own country. I think keeping India as pure as India and not trying to modernize and westernize it, people will love that about India. Outside India, there is a craze for those kind of values rather than learning how to, use technology and all of that. So I think keeping ourselves Indian will be the best package we have in order to market ourselves and our education.
Does it have got more to do with empathy or with spirituality?
Of course, it has to do with any kind of mindfulness education. Any education which teaches you mindfulness in any and every possible way. There are 1,000 ways in which you can be mindful, but mindfulness teachings And of course, all of our roots into ancient wisdoms are something which is the USP of India outside India. And I think that will create a very huge market for people to enter India.
Okay. Thank you very much. I pray to Almighty, you all have been wonderful. Thanks a lot. Very kind of you. I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now I come to the kingpin, Dr. Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan.
Well, yeah, it's thank you all. First of all, my gratitude to Dr. Lavanya ji, Dr. Anjali ji, and Mona ji. We don't know each other before last week. And, I was given their references and I just reached out, and they were, very nice to trust me. And they were able to come, and they were very committed. Yesterday, I got emails, hey, where is the link? Do you have everything? So the attention to detail, thank you for doing that. And as each of them comes from a different state in the US. One, Lavanya ji comes from Ohio, which is kind of the birthplace of aviation. Anjali is from my own backyard, Houston, Beaumont, which is kind of the oil place of, the energy capital. And Mona ji is from the tech capital. So they all bring very differing perspectives, but, in that sense, they all represent the innovation that America has. And then but at the same time, they're all so very grounded in the Indian ecosystem. So they become exemplars for this theme itself. How do you make how do you stay relevant? And I kind of like the way each of them spoke with us, especially what Mona ji was saying, my USP, and that's a very marketing term. So in marketing or even in strategy, one of the things we talk about is how do you differentiate yourself? There are so many countries. What makes India unique is the thought process, the ancient tradition, the timeless tradition that the Indian thought represents. And if we give it up in the quest to become one, Thomas Friedman talks about the Lexus and the olive tree. And all of us are in the quest for the Lexus, which is materialism. But we also have our olive trees. And that's he uses a little bit of a biblical metaphor there. I don't know if I fully agree with him there. Or, the globalization, as we talk about. Or also there are now thinkers who are saying is globalization an irreversible process, or, with some of these thought processes that are happening in the elections, is that going to be reversed? I mean, I'm not going out into there, but the fact of the matter is in this quest for technology, in this quest for globalization, we are all, embracing a certain sameness, the McDonald's and the MTV generation. I mean, people have talked about it. Is that necessary? I guess technology is necessary. If you don't beat them, you'll be join them. If in the US, they say if you're not on the table, you'll be on the menu. So we have to be at the table, and that's important. But at the same time, should we be on the table wearing the same without our identity? If we don't differentiate ourselves, I think that is also a problem. Then you will become just one of the things. So I guess we have to stand with pride. We have to have the best of the modern education come into India, but at the same time, be rooted in the tradition. And I think the wonderful templates have been given, and the scholars themselves who are on the panel are themselves very good templates. They have kept, as I told you, each of them comes from a different state in the US, representing a different facet of US innovation. And at the same time, they're so well connected to the Indian roots, and they're being able to be seen as ambassadors. So that is what the world loves. That's what the world respects. If you can communicate on their terms, but at the same time, talk about your tradition, I think the world loves it. So we don't have to whitewash ourselves. We don't have to really say what we are not. Let us be honest. Let us be proud of our roots. I think that's the compelling message I take. Okay, what is it? Black and white. I get a message.
Sorry, I'm just making a point. Like your Shakti panel did not coordinate, but we all have the same kind of a black and white thing going on. Total side note, it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So of course, it's easy to wear black and white, but some of these things, I think that's I didn't know I pick up on all these things. Anyway. But it is very interesting that we are at a very interesting juncture in history. A lot of things are happening in the political firmament. But at the same time, those are like the reverse. And now one thing I wanted to also respond, I particularly like what Mona ji said. And this is kind of interesting. She's coming from Silicon Valley and talking about how technology and how is that so much information is out there and do we need that? That's true. I think there is this huge information flow that's happening. Think of it like if you've seen Ganga in Bengal, the Faraka Barrage, it's so huge. But we need a dam to anchor it. And we need to build a good dam because, I'm reminded of the very famous engineer, Vishwesharaya, who saw the waterfalls in Shivanasamudram in Karnataka. Everybody thought of nature, but he said, what a waste of energy, how do we harness it? So this water stream is flowing. How do we build a power station to harness it? And that's what we should think about. How do we use this? And that is where all these thought processes become important. That is where institution building becomes important. That is where we need engineers. Engineers as in people who can take this knowledge or this raw material of data and information, make it knowledge and distill it with wisdom. That process is needed. So I guess we need all these thought processes, these panels, the webinar series. Institutions are all going to be key players in converting the Gyan Ganga that is happening into a Gyan Shakti that can enable and transform India. That is really where the message for me from this panel is. And I'll turn it back to Major Saab to have the final word. And after, I think he can say, when we are done with the parade, I don't know how we dismiss it. Stand please.
Okay, as an elder brother to all of us, I think biologically I'm the elder brother of everybody. And having gone through the different phases, my father was in army. I also joined army and I wanted to retire from the army, but destiny had something else in the storage. I did my master's and my PhD both in service industry. And thereafter, clearing all the exams, I moved on deputation from the Indian Army to the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And I set up India's first institute for the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, with my colleagues and my entire team. And that is the Travel and Tourism Institute for Ministry of Tourism in India. And thereafter, drafted India's first MBA Tourism for the Indian universities and colleges and institutions. Having taught in George Washington University, Purdue University, Pepperdine University, Woodbury, all the places we have been associated. And down when I go to Australia, right, Southern Cross University, RMIT, and a couple of other places, So what I'm sharing is that East and West and all that, having seen that, today I have dedicated at this age, at this stage, when you cross 70, you want to repay back to society whatsoever you have got from the society. And these are a couple of very interesting examples and milestones of life. I'm totally committed and focused now to empower the education system of India. Yes, please.
Sir, I'm getting a couple of texts from our very, very dear panelists. How can we help more? So if you can also address that in your summary statement.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Sharma, as a political scientist, I want to ask, what's next? So what? What is the point of this? How can we help?
So the concluding part is, at this point of time, because 1994, when I moved out from the Ministry of Tourism, we started initially with a small confluence of the non-resident Indian, because during the ministry time, I noticed a lot of people were coming from abroad, but there was nobody to receive them, to take them, to get them on a common platform, to recognize and appreciate their expertise and efforts. And that was the birth in India in 1994, Punjabi Parvasi Divas. That was the first one. And 2003, then the Honorable Prime Minister of India took that vision forward. And from there, the Bharatiya Parvasi Divas. And now you can see it's a vibrant Gujarat, vibrant Telangana, vibrant Karnataka, vibrant Tamil Nadu, everything. Now, this new education policy, which has come after 34 years, from our chamber, our efforts are, we are totally dedicated towards making education relevant. When we say making education relevant, there are two parts of the policy. One is the school education, one is the higher education. When I'm talking about higher education, there are two kinds of systems they are working on. And particularly when I see from abroad, my concern is that the 100 best institutions, what they are planning to get it from abroad to India, these valuable inputs, what we are giving over here. So we got to take into consideration that the abroad institutions, those are coming into India, should they bring the Western education? Should they bring something with them, their expertise? Should they bring with them their networking? Should they bring with them, what exactly will they bring and how will they bring the podlocking into the confluence of this entire effort? That is one part. Secondly, we also wish to very strongly recommend to Government of India, Ministry of Education, and to all other stakeholders, let us get a pool of 100 best visionary think tank from the world, from Indian diaspora. Those are experts in various fields. Let them come on a short assignment for 6 months or 1 year to India, and their present packages and all that, that should be protected, some incentive to be given. With them should come the expertise from abroad and networking from the abroad and futuristic from abroad, and at the same time, research and other areas which has to be taken, all that part has to be. So that is the total objective and aim of this exercise. And we would request you to kindly recommend some more people to whom you wish that next time they should come in this panel. They can be from any field, they can be from any expertise, and they can be from any area. Aim is, at this point of time, this new education policy, it should in real terms, should become a game changer. And ultimately, because we are a chamber, we are a non-profit chamber, we are not looking forward to money or something of that kind. And as I personally feel, intellectual capital is more important than the physical financial capital. When you talk about education, But at the same time, the people have to be given a handsome package, salary and all that. I personally feel the kindergarten teacher should get more salary than the professor or a lecturer in a university, because the formating years of the child, that up to 8 years of age or 9 years of age, that is the most important age for every child, whatsoever is there. So Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji, I requested him, we discussed with each other, we planned it out. I'm thankful to Professor Tejinder, who is from the Kurukshetra University, who is the founder president of Commerce and Management Association of Haryana. He put me across to Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji. So at present, this exercise will lead towards one final document, which we wish to give to the Honorable Prime Minister of India and to the Education Minister of India. And we would like to take the final notes in that, in black and white. What are the recommendations from our side after these deliberations? Because there are 3 stages of the policy. One is the government has made the policy. Now that policy has to be implemented. And thereafter, the 3rd stage is that policy has to be monitored. Whether the policy in realistic terms implemented and thereafter. Now, there are a couple of challenges which I would like to share with you. Today's youth, my 2-3 very big concerns are there. And what Dr. Anjali asked initially, that was the biggest concern of mine, how to empower my teachers. And when I am empowering them, with what should I empower them? And who will monitor that what I have empowered? And who will monitor what have they delivered, whatsoever they have been empowered for? And finally, what is the outcome of that? And then Dr. Mona took me for the toss. I think this evening, all the inputs which you have given to me, each and every word, like a humble learner and as a student and a very dedicated student, I've taken each and every word of yours into consideration. I've noted down. And the climax of the entire, when I close this session, is what am I teaching and why I am teaching? Oh, that is the climax which you have given to me. What am I teaching and why I am teaching? because these two are such a powerful sentences and such a powerful. And then finally, of course, I wanted to hear that holistic lifelong learning and skills, which Dr. Anjali mentioned. And then Dr. Mona, you told mindfulness teaching and ancient wisdom we should focus on. We should not get into the glitter and artificial glitter, which is being packaged by everybody from world over. So with these words, I thank all of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks a lot. God bless all of you. As an elder brother, I send my warmest greetings and best wishes for coming Diwali and coming days and coming times. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. God bless all of us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you and all the viewers world over, those are watching this particular program. Don't forget to join us every Sunday evening, 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time with the panel, with the muscles and the hard work of